مسافة زباحيم داف سمخ فاب عمود ألف نو بيرك حتات عوف شعس أهل ماتا the bird hatat where they did the kapara, they did the blood offering below the red line and Beach Kima hatat l'shem hatat, and you did the hatat procedure for the sake of hatat kisherat kasher because you did everything correctly. Kima hatat l'shem olah, if you did the hatat procedure correctly, but you had in mind the wrong procedure of olah, yani in mind for an olah, kima olah l'shem hatat, or vice versa, you did the wrong procedure of an olah for the sake of the correct for the sake of the correct intention of a hatat, kimase ola, or you had in mind the incorrect plain thing, l'shem ola, for the incorrect intention, pisla uyak pasul. Salam ala kimase kula pislun. If you did all of it, anything about the red line, also pasul. Okay. One says, ola ta'of. Sha'asa alim ala. A bird ola, that if you did above the red line, kimase ola l'shem ola, did ola for the ola, kishirat kasher, you did it good. However, kimase ola l'shem hatat kishirat, if you did it ola procedure for the intention of ola, it's kasher. But vashallah al ta'al lib'ala, as long as but it doesn't count as the guy getting, the doesn't get as count as the owner getting kapara. Kimase hatat Hashem Allah, if you had the bird Allah, you doing hatat, which is incorrectly for the sake of an Allah, which is correct. Kimase hatat Hashem hatat, or hatat for hatat, oh, both are incorrect because it's an Allah. Pislat pasul asalat matala ase kula pasul. Also, if you did anything below the red line, it also is pasul. Gemara. Deshani b'may. In our Mishnah, when he says you're changing the procedure, what are you changing? Elam with the Shana Miliki of your thing that he did the wrong type of Milika. Nema de lo Kribi Lazat, Kribi Shimon. It's a question against Rabbi Shimon because he held the Marsha Matish Madlin Bahatatov. He said that you can decapitate the animal, and seemingly that would be the case where you would be changing the procedure by decapitating the animal. So the Gemara says no. V'lo kimna de lo Kribi Azar Kribi Shimon. Maybe no. Maybe the Mishnah is not according to Rabbi Shimon, and therefore our Mishnah would be saying that if you change the procedure by decapitating it, the Gemara says. Not necessarily. Dishan has are talking about cases that you change the procedure, not of Milika, not of the killing, but rather of the sprinkling. You skip the sprinkling. Right. Okay, I'm stop. I can prove it to you. Let me tell you safer because the next part of the Mishnah says, "Asalam ala kama sekula not pisla." That if you do it by the red line, it's possible. But I feel kama hatat Hashem hatat. Even if you did the hatat for the sake of hatat, the shining b'mai. Now, what are you changing over there? Either the shining milika, you change the milika over there. Ha'amar Mabba, we said in the Braita, milika v'choma kama kasher. It's always kasher. Elav shani tazah must be talking about cases where you change the sprinkling. Umidisefa hazan. Since the second case is talking about sprinkling changing, there should not be also the first case is also sprinkling. Mar says immediately it's not proof. Maybe there's two different cases of the Mishnah. One case could be talking, the last case could be talking about a case of changing and sprinkling. In the first case, we talking about a case of changing of milika. No proof either way. Okay. New Mishnah. Sorry, next part of the Mishnah. Arla ta'of, the Ola bird. Deshaun again, what are you changing in that procedure? Leaving the Deshaun Milika, changing the milika. Mishnah says for the next part of the Mishnah says, Kulan emitame in betabli mali mehen. All of them, if you don't get tuma by swallowing it, but if you do me'ilah by misusing it, right? So, in general, whenever a bird, um, whenever a bird is done incorrectly, slaughtered incorrectly in our Mishnah, um, so if you did something incorrectly, it's not enough. It does not become a nivela. A kosher nivela bird, if you in general if it dies, then you get tameh by eating it. In these cases of our Mishnah, if you do a procedure incorrectly, even though you can't eat it, even though it's not considered a good korban, you still don't get tuma. So now it must be, but however, if you misuse it, you still get me'ilah. It's like an in-between stage, still considered misusing Beit HaMikdash property. Nemat l'Rebbe Yeshua, so maybe it's a our Mishnah is not according to Yeshua. Tika Yeshua was because if it was according to Yeshua, ha'amar in Marlin he says no me'ilah ve'elam vatsui. So maybe it's talking about a case where he changed the procedure of squeezing the out of blood. Ema sefer alot ha'of she'asal ma'atal k'ma'aseh hatat la'ashem hatat. We said also in our Mishnah that if a bird Allah is done below the red line, like the khatat procedure for intention of khatat, Rabbi Elazar says there is me'ilah. Yani you are chayav for misusing it. Rabbi Yeshua Omer, Ein Ma'alin, there is no Me'ila. The Shani B'mai. So therefore, what type of changing in procedure over there? Ilam Mesui, referring that you change the procedure of squeezing out the blood. Ein Ma'adam Rabbi Yeshua, the Shani Likah. When we say Rabbi Yeshua holds there's no Me'ila is when he didn't do the Me'ila correctly. However, Ben Mitzvah Miyamar, but in the case of the Allah, when squeezing out the blood, did he say that there was no Milah? He never said that. Maybe talking about a case where they changed the Milika. Here's Shab B'Sef Milika Mitzvah Mitzui. What? I mean, the first and last cases of the Mishnah will be talking about Milika, and the middle cases about squeezing out the blood. We don't like switching up cases. We like keeping the cases preferable, keep the cases symmetrical in what we're talking about. The Gemara says, though, no, yes, we can explain the Mishnah. The first and last cases is talking about Milika, and the middle case is talking about changing procedures of the blood. No Mishnah, Vekulan, and Mitame indirectly all these cases that you mentioned previously. If you did these all incorrectly, even though it's pasul, it does not make the animal like a regular nevela, and therefore you will not be chayav, you not become tameh by swallowing it. However, if you misuse it, it's your chayav me'ila. Except for the case of a bird hatat that was done incorrectly by using the hatat procedure for the sake of a hatat, which is kasher. So once it's done kasher, once it's done correctly, that is a case where you're allowed to eat it. There's no me'ila. Right? So it's not like, oh, it's a bad procedure, but you're just not have a me'ila. No, it's a good procedure, and that's why you're not have me'ila, because you're able to eat it. Next, if a bird olah was done for hatat, for the sake of hatat, Rabbi Elazar, remember, Rabbi Elazar says you are chayav me'ila if you use it. Rabbi Yeshua Amar inu inu, Yeshua you're patur. Amar Rabbi Elazar, Eliezer, Amar me hatat she'inu alin la lishma. Now, let me tell you why you're right. You're wrong, Rabbi Yeshua. Why would you not be chayav? If a case of a hatat where there's no me'ila when you misuse it, if you do it for the correct purpose, kishishna shema mu'alim, but yet if you change the procedure, yani if you offer it for the sake of a different korban, you are chayav me'ila. Olah shemu'alim balishma. So in the case of olah where you are chayav me'ila by using it, even if you do for an olah, because you're not supposed to eat an olah, it's supposed to go straight to Hashem, completely burnt. So therefore, so if you change the procedure, if you did not do it correctly, so for sure it should also be chayab me'ilah. Mara says, which is not a good proof. That's not a proof, because why? If you say you have me'ilah by hatat, because the Kohen has changed it to an olah. Shekin shinat shema davar sheyesh meila, because now he changed it to a type of korban where chayav meila. Right, changed to Allah. That's why chayav. However, tomar be'Allah sheshinat shema l'shem hatat shekin shinat shema davar she'en meila. However, in the case of Allah where you change it to a hatat, you're not chayav meila because he changed it to something that's not chayav in meila, which is a hatat. Amar says no. V'arei kosher koshim shachatan v'dram shachatan l'shem koshim b'kalim yachichu. I'll bring you proof from kosher koshim that are slaughtered in the south, but it's supposed to be in the north, and he slaughtered it for the sake of kosher kalim. Because what? Sheken Shinat Shema Devar Milah, he has now changed the designation to something that's not Hayav Milah by making Koche Kalim. Umalimba, and still Hayav Milah. Avata, Al Titma Allah. So therefore, don't be surprised in the case of an Allah that want Af Shinat Shema Devar Shema Shema Allah, even though you changed it to something that's not Hayav in Milah, you're still Shema Allah, you're still Hayav for Milah for it, even though you changed it to Hatat. Amar Rishua, which is not. Your case of kosher kalim, kosher kachim slaughtered in the south for kosher kalim, sheken shinat shemam devar sheyesh bo isur veheter. Over there, you changed that status to something that has chiyuv and heter parts, meaning part of it's chayav meila and part not. Tomar be'olah sheshinat shemam devar sheku heter. However, in the case of an olah bird being slaughtered for a hatat bird, you're not bechayav meila. Why? Because there is no asur part. It's completely mutar for the people to eat.